You are still on World News. The Chief Executive Officer of multinational company General Electric, Frida, was in Indonesia recently. I sat down with him and began an interview by asking him the purpose of his visit.
Whenever I come here, I want to be able to meet with our customers and get a sense for how the country's evolving. But more importantly, I want to meet with our own teams and see how they're growing and developing. And so I've seen continuous progress in Indonesia. We should cross the $1 billion mark this year in terms of revenue. So it's a very interesting and exciting place to be.
Specific agenda in this time's visit?
So,
I understand you signed some MOUs.
Yeah, no, we met with some of the big state-owned enterprises like Garuda, Pertamina, companies like that. And we signed an MOU around training and education, leadership development, skills training. And then also, you know, we've got a lot of big projects in the oil and gas area. We've got a lot of big projects in locomotives. So I wanted to just see how those developments are going.
And also, Mr. Emailed, why is Indonesia important to General Electric?
So I think it's important in and of itself. So big population, natural resources, really the potential to be, I think, one of the most dynamic global economies, growing economies. Its growth track record has been good. You know, 6.5% growth has been very exciting, and it's well positioned geographically. You know, it's right in Asia, one of the fastest growing regions in the world.
I understand that GE is also big in India and China. How do you rank Indonesia among those other Asian countries?
So they're all different. China, of course, is this massive expanding economy. I compare Indonesia really to India, and I view in some ways that Indonesia is quite on the same potential trajectory that India was on. Differences are that Indonesia has more natural resources than India has, and that in some ways could be an accelerator to economic growth.
How big is GE's investment in our country this year?
So it's, you know, we have, from a financing standpoint, we have in excess of $1 billion, so very substantial in that area. And then on the industrial side, you know, we've kind of have talked about several $100 million over the next few years as being the kind of investment that GE should continue to make in Indonesia.
Globally, GE has been doing great last year. You were making around $150 billion globally, and also your operating earnings was up 8 to 10%. How is it for Indonesia?
So Indonesia has been one of our fastest growing countries. You know, we've seen probably 25 or 30% growth over the last few years. Like I said, we'll cross the $1 billion milestone this year, which is quite exciting. So Indonesia has really been one of the big engines of growth. Like a lot of the kind of resource-oriented countries, Latin America, Africa, Middle East, a lot of these areas that we've seen great growth. And the ASEAN region for us, Frida, has been very exciting. You know, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. This has been one of the best growing regions.
Also, GE is very keen in developing local leaders, that's so-called. What do you think are the best, most effective and most efficient ways to develop leaders in countries such as Indonesia?
I think first invest in their training. So the key is to make sure that they have the same capability that any of their colleagues have. And then, you know, there are going to be some young Indonesian leaders that want to travel around the world. So we want to provide the career opportunity for them to move them around the world, to give them great global experience so they could come back here someday an even better leader. But we invest a lot in our people.
Mr. Email, before you became CEO of GE has a quite legendary leader, but you took office in early 2000 and you have a huge shoes to fill, but you have been successful. You are one of the most legendary leaders in the world. What is your recipe for success?
I think be yourself. You know, I think it's always hard when you follow somebody famous. You know, there's pressure to want to be like that person. But in business, you know, leadership is kind of like a one-act play, you know. So I think what I try to teach young people is to have self-confidence and to know their own personality and their own style and be true to that style. And in the end, there's a lot of different ways to run a business or run a company or be successful. And I think what's most important is that you're comfortable in your own skin, doing things your own way, and that's certainly what I've tried to do and to be.
Jeffrey Immelt was seen as a natural to lead General Electric as his father was a manager of General Electric Aircraft Engine Division. And still coming up in world news,